Hello everybody, and welcome back for some more Redstone fun. Today I'll be showing you a silly little trick you can do with your Elytra. There will be two methods. The first is building on one other people have used, and one that is completely new. Now, as I'm sure many of you know, there's a simple way to plank using the Elytra, or to stay flying in one place using a cobweb. You simply place a cobweb down, jump on in with your Elytra, and basically you're flying in place. Now, this is basically the idea of what I'll be showing you today, how to fly while staying in place. Now, this method is easy to do and you can do it anywhere, but it does have its flaws. In 1.9, if you try using the cobweb, as soon as you go through the floor, you'll start to suffocate. In 1.10, as soon as you touch the ground, you'll be standing right up again. Now, to rectify this problem, I've come up with a little device here behind me. It's using the cobweb method, but makes a little addition to it to make it so that you can fly using the Elytra for the entire length and lifespan of the Elytra itself. Now then, let's head on inside into this little room I made here. So basically, don't mind the faces watching you. So the device here uses a piston that's hooked up to a comparator clock, and this is very important, and it's surrounded by iron trapdoors as well as having a cobweb above it. That's just there to provide light. That's not important. Now, if you power the piston with the comparator clock, as you can see, it's constantly firing. And you might not think that that's important, but because of the traits of the pistons that they've changed, or actually might have always been like that, there's something very interesting you can do with the Elytra. Now, if we go ahead and power the piston one more time, I'll kind of show you guys what I mean. Basically, the piston itself, when it's firing like that, it's going between two different hitboxes. You can kind of see it if I look on the piston, and if I go to the trapdoor, it kind of stops. There's like that faint line that's shifting. As you can see, it turns off, and there it goes again. Now, when it's not powered, the piston itself has a solid hitbox, I should say. But when it's powered, it goes to one that's a little bit smaller. Now, this is important. If we jump on in here into the cobweb, normally when you're on top of it like this, as soon as you hit the hitbox of the piston closed, you just stand up upright. But if we power the piston with the comparator clock like so, it's currently shifting between two hitboxes, and you can see when I go use my Elytra, I am now flying. Now, I'm sure just by looking at this, you can kind of get an idea of what's going on. Now, basically what's happening is the piston is shifting between the two modes, and I'm on top of it, so I'm not quite hitting the block long enough for it to take me out of my Elytra mode. And since I'm stuck in part of the cobweb as well, it allows me to stay in this mode to look like I'm actually flying all the time, right here. Now, I am still technically moving forward, which you can kind of make out slight movements. That's where the iron trapdoors come in. Since I'm hitting a wall technically where my hitbox is, I can't move forward, I can't walk forward. And while that's happening, it means that I can stay in place, locked in my Elytra mode, and it's constantly allowing me to fly. So going back to first person here, we'll kind of get an idea of what's going on. Now, the first thing you'll notice is that I can actually still move around and look around. Now, the durability on that was 343. That's important. And you'll notice, if we check it again, oh, now it's 340. Yes, you are still technically flying with the Elytra, which means the durability is constantly going down. Now, to get out of this device here, basically what you could do is break the cobweb or simply take your Elytra off. And as you'll notice, I have that kind of going up and down and lighting changing effect. You can turn off the piston and it still remains. Now, basically, to get out of this, there's two things you can do. You can either walk out towards one of the sides that doesn't have the iron door, because the iron door is what's keeping you stuck in place against the block. Or you could simply break the cobweb with shears and you can get out. Now, the third way, obviously, ender pearling out of the device. Now, this device is it's very interesting. It's a little tricky to use, but it does have its own flaws. It's not exactly compact, it's loud, and we could find a much better way to do this. The pistons are very interesting, and you'll notice the next way I'm going to show you, we can actually manipulate its traits even further. Now, I'm sure you can already tell, the one big difference is that this one is a lot quieter. Oh, there you are. Welcome to the Fountain of Kinetic Energy. So this next exploit I'll be showing you uses the piston as well, but it uses the piston's hitbox in a different way, in as it uses it so that you actually go past the hitbox of the piston and you're inside the block itself. This version of the trick is a lot more flexible in that you can set it up in almost any place because the only thing that remains from the device itself is the piston. Now let's head over to another location and I can show you how to set it up. So to set up this one, we'll be borrowing the front of my friend Ofer's house on the server. To be more specific, we'll be using the area right above his door. Now this method is very flexible, but it does require a little bit of setup, so you're going to want to get a friend to help you, as you'll see later on. Now once you've chosen the spot, the first thing you're going to want to do is grab a piston. Now you're going to want to have the piston to where the sticky side or the wood side is facing away from where you want to be looking. The side that you'll be using is the front side where it's all stone. Once you finish setting up your piston where you want to have the device, the next thing you're going to want to do is set up a comparator clock. It doesn't have to be a comparator clock specifically, but that's what I'll be using to show you today. Now, any clock would work, whether you use a burnout of a torch or simple repeaters in a cycle. Similar to where the cobweb was in the last design, you'll be jumping on the top of this piston. So what you're going to want to make sure you have is a block in front of you as well as a block above you, like this. Finally, just get into position, turn the device on, and start spamming the spacebar. Eventually, you'll notice that you are thrown into your Elytra mode, as you can see here. Next, you can just turn off the device and you're stuck in the piston. Next is where the part I mentioned earlier comes into play. Have a friend on the server come on by to where you set up the device and have him clear away all the unnecessary blocks and the leftover redstone. Finally, all you'll be left with is a guy who's hit you and a piston in place. Now, my good friend Ofer has a strikingly realistic looking ZaCrazyFool statue right over his doorway. Isn't that cool? Gotta say, the Elytra was an amazing addition to the game and I'm having a lot of fun with it. So I hope you guys enjoy this little bit of redstone fun. It's more of a Elytra trick rather than a redstone device, but I still wanted to share it. Now, you might be thinking, this isn't the same as the title. How is this infinite? Well, actually, if you set this up at any kind of AFK XP farm, like a gold farm or something like that, and you have mending on your Elytra, you can actually stay flying with the Elytra for an infinite amount of time, for the entire length of the Elytra till it breaks, up until you decide to leave. I also set this up in a couple places on the server just for fun. To end off the video, I'll be showing you a couple clips of those. Now without further ado, let's get to them.